deaf to life, from blind to sight. This is my God story, from lost to found, and from then to now. And I'll tell you my God story, and who brought me then from old to new. And it's a true God story. Ain't hard to see the change in me could only be a God story. And it goes on to repeat the chorus and the bridge. But I love that, honestly. And I think it's important too. Like, how many, and it got me thinking, how many of, we all have a God story. We all have, or we're all on our way to a God story. Um, Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Sun Grace and Sass. Um, my name is Breezy. I will be your fabulous host today. And we're on episode 9. And we are going to be talking about or what my God story is. Now you're probably wondering, God story? What does that even mean? Well, um, I first came up with the idea for this episode. Well, I was in the middle of listening to one of Sadie Robinson's podcast. So I was like, you know what? I have an episode lined up around something she said there that I'm gonna get to eventually, and not this episode, but a couple episodes later. But anyway, um, Anna Wilson has this own God story, and it hit me and it impacted me. And y'all know when I hear a song that impacts me, I have to, I gotta get behind it. I love a good song, but um Ann Wilson, she did. Here's the background for this song God story. It's serving as the first taste of her highly anticipated Rebel Revisited, following up God story and that comes out. Now, this for those of you who don't know who Ann Wilson is, she is from Kentucky. Um, she shows she in the song basically she does it to show tribute to how God has been with her throughout this whole life, throughout and everything. Um, and I love it. Like one of the things I do, like she also has another song called God and Country that I love by Ann Wilson, and I think it's a perfect to hear, and I think it goes fittingly well because if you're clicking on this, you're probably wondering you're either one of my loyal followers, subscribers, or you're like, okay, thinking about God stories and how it's impacted my life. Um, impacted my life. Sorry, I cannot talk for some reason. I don't know if it's allergies or what, but I have not been feeling well at all. So please bear with me. But, but the first verse she goes, I've gone where the hopeless go, the dead end of a broken road, and I've learned there's a place so low you can't see your way out. Been stuck in a ditch so deep, thought it might be the end of me, but I'm still here, and there could only be one way out. I love this verse, guys. I really do. And it's so, like, it hits me. Like, I can relate so much to this song. And then here's the chorus. My life is a God story. Gotta tell the world what he's done for me. Miracles on miracles that only he could do. I'm proof we're all only one prayer away from a testimony. And there's only one getting all the glory. My whole life is a God story. I was singing for y'all, but y'all don't want to hear me sing, and I don't feel like dealing with the music on the copyright issue on YouTube. With that being said, let's talk about verse 2 now. From the beginning to the end, from who I was to who I am, I can see his fingerprints on every single page. Now the story I love to tell is the story of the one who brought me back from hell. From all I've wrong, from all wrong to it is well, and all I can say, and she goes on to repeat the chorus. Now the bridge happens to be my favorite part of the song. And it goes from deaf to life, from blind to sight. This is my God story, from lost to found, and from then to now. And I'll tell you my God story, and who brought me then from old to new. And it's a true God story. Ain't hard to see the change in me could only be a God story. And it goes on to repeat the chorus and the bridge. But I love that, honestly. And I think it's important too. Like how many and it got me thinking, how many of we all have a God story. We all have or we're all on our way to a God story. Um and God stories are important. I will tell you on mine in a few moments, but I thought I start by defining what is a God story? How is it done? Well, a God story is like a personal narrative of faith, often recounting a significant experience or a turning point in someone's life where they believe God's presence or intervention was evident. It is a way to show how someone's life can be shaped that has been shaped by their faith and their belief in God, that God was actively involved in their journey, and their stories can vary greatly, and it shows a wide range of experience from overcoming adversity to finding purpose in life. Um, let's talk about a little bit more of that. Well, for starters, there's the personal narrative, and this is a God story that is a first person account of a person's life, highlighting moments where they believe that God played a role. There's faith and belief, and sorry, and it emphasizes the individual's faith and belief that God's active involvement in our lives. And there's the turning points, like often these stories focus on significant events, challenges, and moments of realization where the individual felt God's presence or guidance. Um, and examples, um, it can be overcoming a serious illness, finding strength in difficult times, experiencing a sense of purpose, or having spiritual awakening. Now there are some key aspects we have to look at, right? um, there's the interpretation of events as a God story, which is impersonal as subjective, based on the individual's faith and beliefs. Um, there's the inspiration of encouragement, where these stories are often shared to inspire and encourage others, demonstrating the power of faith and God's love. Um, there's also reflection and gratitude, um, and that's the power of God's love. Anyway, lost my place, sorry. But no, reflection and gratitude, and this is showing that God, sharing a God story that can be a way for individuals to reflect their own journey and express gratitude for their presence in their lives. Now, I do want to go things to, we can't do an episode without talking about Reddit. Y'all know I love me Reddit, some Reddit now. I also love the MID a-hole stories that are really fun. But so I did a search. So I went on Google and I typed God stories on Reddit. And this is what came up. This is a message from God story. This one is from Mr. Flex 26 and it says God told me last year on October 27 that if I stayed at home, um, instead of going to do a food delivery, that I would be free. That this was a thought that was randomly planted on my mind, and then the thought had a certain signature to it, one of the creator of me and the universe. Now, sure enough, within the next 3 days, God freed me from anxiety, depression, BPD, and porn and gambling addiction, and that is amazing. Um, another story is from Pogi Squash. I love the name, by the way. But this is one that comes to mind is that after I got saved, I knew in a general sense that I was supposed to be baptized. But joining the church was a very important decision, so I was praying about it. I don't know how many times I had prayed about it before, but one day in particular, I was laying across the head of my bed. I suppose I was trying to bargain with God, saying, "If you'll just save my sister tonight, I will be baptized." And such, so and so church. Well, I didn't hear any voices and I didn't see any visions or anything like that, but all of a sudden, the greatest clarity came to me. It was a realization that I had with a message from an outside source. Um, and the message was that I needed to worry about me. In other words, I should do only what I'm supposed to do and leave the rest to God. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, um, that God wanted me right now, so I did join, and the blessings I received have been more than I can describe. Um, okay, this one is from Zeppelin Cheetah. Loving these names, guys. It makes my Reddit username boring and basic. But anyway, this is gonna be one of three. This is gonna be three events. At the time, I put everything together and actually realized God exists. I felt nauseous and went to throw up, and nothing came out. But I felt an overwhelming sense that I was getting rid of a demon or a demonic energy that had kept me from believing so long. Um, 3 or 4 years later, I was gradually allowing my faith to grow, but was still trying to wrap my head around it. And I worked in the office, and there was a pretty girl who worked in the office across the hall. I decided that I was going to pray and see if anything happens. At the time, I was lonely and desperate for a woman. Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. Um, hey, no, but in all seriousness, no, on that one sec, I do believe that you pray for whoever. Like, I'm praying for my future husband. I really am. I don't know my future husband yet, but I'm praying for my future husband. But anyway, back to the Reddit story. I prayed that the pretty girl would come to me, and that all I had, that's all. And I kid you not 15 minutes later, she came to my cubicle and asked me a question about work. I know on the surface it looks like a coincidence, but I knew it wasn't. She had never come over to ask me about anything, and that's all I needed. And that's what she would come over to me. Nothing became come of it other than that. Um, Another story is one day I was at a bar night talking to a friend and of mine across Jesus in the gospel. And he told me about good things that God was did in his life and the connection with Jesus, who Jesus really is and everything. And it was then that we heard gospel inside the bar and said no man battle and everything. Now, here's the thing, guys. Another one I love is this is a Reddit story, but I'm a huge Duck Dynasty fan. Psy is my favorite, and rest in peace, Phil. America, this country lost a really good person. Y'all, if y'all know the story of Phil Robertson, he how he was a alcoholic and who turned his life around. I do recommend it. And the movie, it's incredible. When I say I cried, I cried. I know I'm a sensitive little weirdo, but isn't being a weirdo fun and adorable? Anyway, but yes, I do recommend that as well. Now, let's talk about how to use our God story. Um, let's reflect and organize. There's who we are before Christ. And during your life, we encounter God. What we're struggling with, our values, our sources of identity and happiness. There's coming to Christ. Do a detail think about details of your conversion experience. How did you hear about the gospel? What was your turning point for you? Then there's after Christ. Share how your life has changed since God accepting Jesus. What positive transformations have you experienced and how has your perspective shifted? Um, Organize your story, structure it in a way that is clear and compelling, and consider writing it out to help with your flow and clarity. Let's keep it relatable. Use understandable language. Um, Also, focus on your personal experience and be honest and vulnerable. Don't be afraid. Everyone has a story, and we're not going to judge you for it. Um, let's focus on the positive. Let's highlight the positive impact. Emphasize how God has changed your life for the better. Show how He is equipping you, even if you're still facing challenges, and show how He is helping you overcome them. Offer hope and encouragement. Let your story inspire others through His love and grace. Then there's through effective sharing. Prepare your story. Be sensitive to your audience, and be open to the Holy Spirit. Um, let's talk about my God story. Um, see, growing up, I didn't have an easy childhood. I grew up going to church and stuff with my grandparents and all that, and then with my mom and my stepdad. Then I just quit going once I got a certain age. I quit believing. But once I became a Christian again, like, I felt something in me change. I felt more at peace with myself. But I think about God stories all the time. And one that stands out to me was like, and now I used to think it was because of survival. But when I go back and look at it, it's like it was God telling me that you were getting out of here. It was as many times as like, it was two times before I graduated high school. And I had already attempted to take my life twice. But there was something stopping me each time. I just didn't know what it was. And by the time I was 21, I would attempt to take my life one last time. I didn't, and I'm still here. And I still struggle with depression and all that, but since accepting God back into my life, it hasn't things I've been more freer spiritually, and I trust God, whatever His plan is for me, even if I don't necessarily understand it right now. But we all have a God story and everything, guys. But I do want to end this episode, as always, with some Bible verses. The first one is one of my favorites, Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Powerful. Um, then there's Psalms 23:4. That's even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Then there's Deuteronomy 31:6, and that is be strong and courageous, and do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. There's Matthew 28:20. And certainly I am with you always to the very end of your age. There's John 14:18 where it says, I will not leave you as orphans, I will come with you. Hebrew 13:5 tells us God has never and never will leave you. Never will I forsake you. Romans 8:31. If God is for us, who can be against us? And the last one, Psalms 137:7-10. And it speaks about his omnipresence, emphasizing that there is nowhere no one can go to escape God's presence. All right, that is it for this episode. I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a great day.